What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video, and today it's team selection time ahead of Game Week 18. And I won't lie to you, right? In the 10 years that I've been playing FPL, not just this season, in the 10 years I've been playing, this is one of the biggest headaches I've had in terms of what decisions to make ahead of Game Week 18 in terms of transfers or in terms of playing chips. Do I or don't I? And I've not really been trying to put off, I have been trying to put off the decision, not because I don't want to tell you lot, but because I'm just not 100% sure. In 24 hours and a little bit more away from the deadline, I'm still not 100%, mostly because we don't know about the fixtures, right? We don't know if Villa versus Spurs is definitely off. It does feel like it probably will be, but will Spurs versus Fulham be put into Game Week 18? And if that happens, what does that mean for chip strategy or transfers this week for me? So I'm going to try and go through Game Week 17 very quickly, because at the end of the day, who cares about that now? And then start looking ahead to Game Week 18 and try and kind of let you know what I will do in each different situation. Like if the match is on, Villa versus Spurs, or if Spurs versus Fulham is on, or if Spurs just don't play completely, I'll try and go through the different things that are going through my mind. If what I say in this video turns out to be completely different to what I actually do in Game Week 18, then I'll make another video, but I'm not planning on doing that because I think I've kind of got my mind set depending on what happens, right? So I'll talk through all that in a minute. Please do give the video a like if you enjoy it. Hit subscribe if you're new around here, and let's quickly talk about OneFootball. So OneFootball back once again sponsoring the team selection videos. Very, very happy to have them back. If you've not already tried it, link in the description below. Whether you're using a mobile device, tablet, that will take you straight through to the store that you're using to download it. And like I said, it's completely free. It's 2021. It's a new year. Treat yourself by getting a completely free app, which is going to help you making your FPL decisions, especially right now. You want all the up-to-date news in one handy place when it comes to fixture postponements, team news and stuff like that. So make sure you give it a download. It helps out me, helps out the channel as well, helps us grow it bigger and better than it already is. So if you haven't already, try OneFootball. The link is in the description below. That'll take you straight through to download. And did I already mention it's completely free? So I'll quickly talk about Game Week 17 very quickly, because I know no one really cares, right? You just want to know what's happening in Game Week 18. I got 64 points, which wasn't bad, but it was a small red arrow, I think, because Son also did well. Basically, most of the big hitters did well. I didn't have Son, didn't have De Bruyne, and so I got a small red arrow from 37k to 41k. Not too bothered. I'm still happy with my position so far in the ranks. Obviously, coming out of 18 or 19, if I can get a bit of a green arrow, like if I could be top 30k, top 20k or something like that, going into Game Week 20, that would be massive. But it is going to be difficult with what we're about to discuss with chips and stuff. So I don't know if it'll be possible, but as long as I don't get massive red arrows, I'll be quite happy. Fernandes did the business again. Grealish as well. Kane captain, really nice with the penalty, 3 bonus points. And I guess the biggest jam was I played Mitchell against Sheffield United, he got a clean sheet. I played Reguilon against Leeds, he didn't even come on at all, so I got so far off the bench. Unfortunately, I didn't get Soucek's 11 points off the bench, but maybe at some point I'll get some points from him, although he might even be transferred out, right, which we'll talk about in a sec. So 64 points, 41k rank, very happy with that after Game Week 17, but we need to get some green arrows over the next 2 weeks. Let's talk about how that's going to happen. Okay, let's try and get our heads around Game Week 18. This is my team as it stands. I've already taken a -4. I did this really early last week, maybe on Monday, maybe on Tuesday, something like that. I took out Salah and Robertson for Cancelo and De Bruyne. Now, I've already talked about this on a video last week, but I know a few more people will probably watch this one. So let's talk about why I did that. De Bruyne and Cancelo are 2 players that I want in my team for Game Week 19 onwards, okay? So if I use no chips, I've got them in my team, I've caught the price rises. If I use the free hit, I've caught the price rises, they'll be in, and then for Game Week 19, Salah and Robertson will be back. If I wildcard, Cancelo and De Bruyne would definitely be in my team, as things stand, unless there's any more fixtures that get postponed. So those 2 are in. I'm quite happy with that. Obviously, if they were to get injured or something in the FA Cup, which has already happened now, by the way, then I would have had a wild card, or I would have probably free hit. I didn't think it was likely that I would go through this week without making, or without using a chip. Now, I've highlighted Reguilon, Martinez, Grealish and Kane in red. That fixture at the time recording this video is not 100% postponed. The fact that Villa had to play the under-23s against Liverpool makes me think very unlikely this fixture will go ahead. So without that fixture, I've got 5 players: Calvert-Lewin, Fernandes, Mitchell, Cancelo and De Bruyne. That's probably not enough to take through to Game Week 18, right? 5 players with one of them being Mitchell, not too happy with it, right? So I do think Villa versus Spurs is going to be off, and that's kind of what I'm planning towards, but I guess I've got a plan for every eventuality. If that game was on, I'd probably roll with these 9 players that I've got. So Kane, Grealish, Reguilon and Martinez added into the 5 already. And just go with it, right? It's not ideal Spurs playing versus Villa and having Kane and Reguilon, not knowing if Grealish or Martinez are even going to play. But given there's so much stuff up in the air, if that game is on, I might roll with it. If it's off, again, at the time of recording this, there is talk that Spurs versus Fulham, bearing in mind Spurs have already got 2 rearranged fixtures to play against Fulham, could be put into this midweek. So Fulham versus Spurs could be in game week 18. So suddenly Grealish and Martinez don't have a game, but Reguilon and Kane do. And obviously playing Fulham is a lot better than playing Aston Villa, I would say. Maybe not if they're playing the under 23s, but in general, Villa is a more difficult fixture. So if Spurs versus Fulham was on, I'd have 7 players. I'd have Cancelo, Mitchell, Reguilon, and I do think Reguilon will play because he played in the EFL Cup and then got rested in the FA Cup. So I think he'll play in the league. So I'd have 3 defenders, De Bruyne and Fernandes, Kane and Calvert-Lewin. So it's 7 players or 6 plus Mitchell, right, if you want to look at it that way. If that game was on versus Fulham, I'd be very tempted just to stick with this team and go with 7. I could free hit, right? But if Spurs is on, I definitely want 3 of their players, so I'd only be adding 1 more. I'd want 3 Man City, so I'd only be adding 1 more. And I'd probably go for triple Man United as well, so I'd be adding 2 more. So I would have a stronger squad, but I wouldn't have the free hit chip. Now, a few people keep asking me on tweets and comments, why am I actively looking to not use the free hit? That's not the case. I'm looking to manage this the best way possible. And if I think I can get through the week without using my free hit, then potentially it's better later on in the season. Now, that's not guaranteed, right? We don't know what's going to happen later on in the season. There could be no more postponements. They could rearrange all the fixtures in a great way where you don't need the free hit, and saving it was a bad move. But we don't know that, right? So I'm not actively looking to save it, but if I can save it, then I will. And I think most people are in that situation, right? If you had a team of 8, 9, 10 players who were decent this week, you wouldn't use the free hit, right? I would only have 7, but it's potentially doable. I'm not sure if there's any other hits that I would take this week. I would be open to it, depending on what's happening with Aston Villa. So, for example, Grealish could go for a cheap player. Like, I've got 3.2 in the bank, so I could get Son or Rashford in for Grealish, and that would give me, in terms of Rashford at least, a double game week player for game week 19 as well. So I'm open to taking more hits, because if they set me up for the long term and they save a chip, bearing in mind I've already taken the -4, then I'm okay with that, right? The other option is the free hit. I don't think I'm going to do that. The problem with the free hit is, right, for me, if I use it, it's not, again, this isn't me trying to not actively use it, but if I use the free hit, then my transfers get reset. So I no longer have De Bruyne or Cancelo. I have Robertson and Salah. Now, that's not bad for a double game week, but I'm going to go into game week 19 then with 0 Man City players, 2 Aston Villa players, Grealish and Martinez, to potentially deal with. They might have a double game week, we don't know. But no Man City players. So I've got 1 free transfer to sort that out. And so suddenly I'm going into game week 19, not really happy with my team. So I think if I was not going to play with 7, I'd be more likely to wildcard than I would be to, just to go through with that, or to use the free hit. If Spurs versus Fulham is not on and Spurs versus Villa is not on, I will almost certainly wildcard rather than free hit, because the thing with Villa is, if the Spurs game isn't on, there has to be some concern that their first game in double game week 19 is also not on, which is against Everton. So if that game's not on, then I've carried through Villa, who aren't playing a double game week anymore, and also Calvert-Lewin, who might not have a game either. So that then gets into a tricky situation. So as it stands right now, I think I'm either staying with this team and playing with 7, or I'm going to wildcard. So I'm going to talk about the wildcard in just a minute. Again, before recording this, apparently it's been agreed, although it's not been confirmed by the Premier League, that Chelsea versus Fulham will move to 5:30 on Saturday. Now, the reason they would move that game from Friday to Saturday is to give Fulham rest time in between a game that they're not currently playing in midweek, but that kind of makes it look like Spurs versus Fulham will be put into midweek. So potentially I'm going to play with 7, but that's not guaranteed. I also want to talk about a wild card, so let's take a look at that as well. Okay, it's tinkering time, right? And I know sometimes these are difficult to follow, but it is honestly the easiest way to get my thoughts across. So this is the team as it stands for game week 18, right, on the FPL page. But obviously, the chances are that the Villa game will be off and potentially Spurs will go into game week 18 with a fixture against Fulham. So like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players. The problem is if I go into game week 19 without having used a chip, and then Villa is off, and potentially the Everton game is off as well because they're playing Villa, right? So I could go into it without Martinez, Grealish, and Calvert-Lewin. Now, I could still field 11 players, but 2 of them would be Kane and Reguilon. Not necessarily an issue because they're playing Sheffield United, but it's maybe not the best way to make use of Game Week 19, right? Because I think there's a lot of double gaming. So I don't necessarily want to go in with Grealish, Martinez, Calvert-Lewin at risk. Obviously, we're going to have to try and wait and see what happens with that Villa game. But I think carrying too many players from that game is a little bit of a worry, right? So here's something I've cooked up earlier, which is a wildcard. Now, I've talked about wildcard quite a lot. I don't really want to get into the why it's good, why it's not. Obviously, there are risks with wildcarding, right? Just because we might find out that Spurs are playing Fulham or whatever, it doesn't mean there won't be more postponements in Game Week 19. And also, Game Week 19 is over 6 days. So there is a chance that even if by the deadline we think they're all going ahead, by the end of the week, they might not. So there are risks with wildcarding this early, right? I'm not saying there isn't. I'm not trying to say that this is kind of save your season style chip, but it is an option for me. It would still only give me 10 players for Game Week 18, but that's obviously better than the 3 I've got right now. But it also gives me a lot of Game Week 19 players with the option to bench boost if I want to. But I wouldn't have to. But of course, if you wildcard, you kind of want to bench boost pretty soon afterwards because otherwise it gets tricky to use it later on in the season. So with this team, because Martinez wouldn't be... Basically at this point, I'm wildcarding if Villa is off, right? If Martinez is not playing, then he's not an option. Now, he would have been an easy choice for Game Week 18 keeper to then carry through to 19. Because he's probably not playing, you kind of have to go with David De Gea, because if you look at the other teams playing, I don't want to carry a Sheffield United or Newcastle goalkeeper through. I've got Triple City anyway. I wouldn't go for Brighton, and no other team's really got a double game week here either. So De Gea is the easiest way to get a double game week keeper and a Game Week 18 keeper, while Martinez is not playing. Now, the reason I want to hold Martinez is because if they start getting fixtures called off, then eventually they're going to have double game weeks, right? And they could slot in during midweeks where suddenly I've got a keeper that's playing twice. And also I've got a bit of money wrapped up in him. I bought him, if you check out on the data view, I bought him at 4.7 million. He's gone up to 5.1. So it's only 0.2 million to buy him back, but potentially I could hold on to him. Only if I think there's a chance that Villa fixture goes ahead. If not, I'd probably swap him to maybe Areola at Fulham, who's got a double game week and also has the games against Spurs, etc. to play. You could potentially, if you're wildcarding anyway, whether Spurs play Fulham or not, go for Areola. He would give you a game in Game Week 18 and then a double game week, and he would still have another Spurs fixture to rearrange. But obviously, you're not expecting too many clean sheets there. But right now, I'm set up with Martinez. That could be Areola, that could be Johnson, whoever it might be. Another keeper. If Spurs versus Fulham was on, I could still wildcard potentially and have Son in the team. And because I've got 2.8 million in the bank, that lets me get Salah back for free. And essentially, I'll be going into Game Week 19 looking at having 2 transfers to make, right? -4. So Son to Salah, and then one of Calvert-Lewin or Wilson to Antonio, probably. Maybe Chris Wood, maybe Rodrigo, but probably Antonio. I want to take the punt on him, right, basically. So Son to Salah. So I'll just show you there's enough money to do this. Salah actually came down in price. So if I find Liverpool, so I go on to Salah, boom, he's back in. And then I can do Wilson to Antonio or Calvert-Lewin to Antonio. Both of them I can afford to do because Antonio is cheaper than both of them. So that's one move I could make. Now, if Spurs versus Fulham was on, and I went for Son, hopefully you can pay attention to this. I know it's an absolute nightmare. It's giving me a headache even talking about it. I would probably do Tierney to Wan-Bissaka because I would only have 2 Man United players. But if Spurs is on, obviously I want to cover that game because they're playing Fulham. And then Son could just become Salah in Game Week 19, right, instead of Rashford. And then Tierney would become Wan-Bissaka instead. But if Spurs wasn't on that midweek, which it does look like it will be now, Rashford would come in instead. That would give me my triple Man United. So I'd have 1 goalkeeper playing in Game Week 18, 3 defenders, Tierney, Cancelo, Stones, 4 of my midfielders, so 4 midfielders, Rashford, De Bruyne, Fernandes, Smith Rowe, right? So he's then a bench option at 4.4 going forward. And then Calvert-Lewin and Wilson both playing in Game Week 18. And then in Game Week 19, like I said, Salah comes in. I just can't go into the double game without Salah, I don't think. Braver people than me will, but I probably won't. And then let's say I keep Calvert-Lewin because I think the fixtures are slightly better. And Luka Dean's back now. I put Antonio in, and then I've got let me see, let me just bring this up so you can see it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 double game weekers, potentially 12 if the goalkeeper is as well. And that means putting on the bench, it would be Tierney, who's playing Newcastle at home, plus one of Sofal or Chilwell. Smith Rowe also playing Newcastle, and then Calvert-Lewin playing Villa, hopefully, right? If not, it would be Wilson playing Arsenal. So I could still bench boost, but it would be mostly with single game week players, but I probably would do that, right? I probably would. It kind of changes things maybe. If Spurs is on, I could keep Reguilon and have him playing Sheffield United instead of Tierney against Newcastle, but it doesn't hugely matter. This probably needs a little bit of work, but I think the main framework is there. And I do think it gives you enough players in Game Week 18, and enough players in Game Week 19 double game week to either play the bench boost or not. I probably would just play it because I think Arsenal versus Newcastle is not that bad of a fixture. The goalie would probably have a double game week if I change to Areola or Johnston, and then it's just Calvert-Lewin or Wilson in their single game week, and I think that would be okay. It's not ideal, but this whole situation is not ideal. So basically at this point, I need to wait and see whether Spurs versus Fulham is on. At that point, I've got a decision to make, right? This would be my team going into Game Week 19. I'd have Johnston with a double, Cancelo, Sofal and Dallas. So I would have 3 double game week players, although no Robertson, no Chilwell, no Man United defender or anything like that, and no double City defender, which a lot of people will have. Obviously, I've got a transfer in Game Week 19 as well. Then I'd have Fernandes, De Bruyne, Rafinha and Souček with a double game week, potentially Grealish instead of one of them. And then Kane, Calvert-Lewin and Bamford. So Kane and Calvert-Lewin do not have double game weeks, but I could change Calvert-Lewin to Antonio and maybe upgrade one of my defenders to a double game week player if I wanted to, something like that. There are options. There's 3.2 million in the bank. Kane down to Antonio would let me get Salah back quite easily, and potentially that gives me another double game weeker there. So I could just play with no chips. I'm still massively undecided. I think Spurs versus Fulham in game week 18 would probably cause me not to use a chip because I just don't think I would need to. I'd have Kane, Fernandes and De Bruyne all covered. The big main players. The only ones I wouldn't have is Son, maybe Rashford, who's going to be on a lot of free hits. But I don't want to start worrying too much about Arsenal just because people have used their free hit, because I would still then have mine intact. And like I said, I could get Salah back and Antonio, and basically change Souček or Rafinha to Salah. So there's lots of options. I still don't know if the wildcard's the best idea. I think the more fixtures to get postponed, the harder it is to make a good Game Week 18 team and a really good bench boost team. You're probably starting to look at not wildcard. And obviously, if you've got your wildcard and your free hit for later, that makes it very easy to bench boost and not worry about blank Game Week 29 because you've got your free hit there. So it leaves you a bit more flexible. So if Fulham versus Spurs is moved to Game Week 18, I'm less likely to wildcard. If it's not and Spurs versus Villa is just off, I'm definitely wildcarding. I don't think I can get through without doing that. And the free hit just leaves me too inflexible going forward, basically. So hopefully you followed that. Hopefully it was useful. Let me know in the comments below if you're still massively confused about what's going on. So that's it for this one. Hopefully you followed it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give it a like. Hit that subscribe button if you're new around here and the notification bell. There's plenty more content to come. Captaincy video tomorrow. And obviously if Spurs versus Fulham is rearranged for Game Week 18, then I'll talk about Son and Kane as captaincy options for that game in particular, as well as obviously all the others too. And there's a deadline stream at 3:30 on Tuesday as well, ahead of the Game Week 18 deadline. That's going to be a busy one. Make sure you check it out. So yeah, hit that notification bell so you know when all those videos and streams are going up. If you've not checked out OneFootball, make sure you do. Completely free. Link in the description below. There's also a link to Patreon if you want to support me and the channel a little bit further. Everyone that signs up goes up on the Legends wall. There's Slack access, early team reveals, WhatsApp access depending on what tier you sign up to. All the videos converted to podcasts, extra Q&As, loads of content over there. Big thanks to Tim VD and Adil N who have signed up since the last stream or video as well. So big thanks to you and everyone that's already signed up and everyone that's just supported me on this channel throughout this season. Plenty more to come. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you again soon for another video and hopefully no more fixture rearrangements.